What is a pastor according to the Scriptures? Actually, let's look up the word in an English dictionary first. I'll just use Google. There it is. A minister in charge of a Christian church or congregation. I guess now I need to do an article or video on what is a minister according to the Scriptures, right? Well, the short story on that one is that it is just the word diakonos in the Greek, which just means servant. But that's yet another topic of yet another traditional religious word. Back to pastor. I'll click on Wikipedia here while I'm at it. There it says, a pastor is an ordained leader of a Christian congregation. And there's a picture of one of them wearing robes with traditional church paraphernalia in the background. The word is actually a Latin word, which, when translated, just means shepherd in English. Google Translate works for Latin, actually. Or, here it is in Lewis and Short's Latin Dictionary. A herdsman, especially a shepherd. If you go down here to, quote, ecclesiastical Latin, unquote, which would be in the later era of the Roman Catholic Church, definition 2.2 has the minister or superintendent of a church or congregation. But that is, of course, begging the question we are now asking, since this is reciting the religious use of the word. The Latin language predated Christianity and the Roman Catholic Church by many hundreds of years, so the religious meaning was obviously a later development in Latin. That brings us to the one and only occurrence of the English word in English translations, which is in Ephesians 4:11. The actual Greek word is poimen. So let's look that up in the Classical Greek Dictionary. There you go. Shepherd. A herdsman, whether of sheep or oxen, and that can be contrasted to the lord or owner of the sheep or oxen. Then, in definition 2.2, you see the word pastor in the definition. But of course, that is again begging the question that we are asking, since the secular dictionary is just documenting the current religious understanding of the word in the Bible. Then you can scroll up and down and see the variations having to do with shepherds and flocks. For example, here's poimenissa, where the issa is the feminizing suffix, like with English s, to make shepherdess. And then up here we have the verb form poimeno, which is to shepherd a flock, and some obvious figurative uses. Now, the Greek word poimen, shepherd, occurs many times in the Bible, both literally to refer to herdsmen of animals, or figuratively to shepherding people. It is just only translated pastor once in the entire Bible, in Ephesians 4:11, beginning with the Protestants' Geneva Bible of 1560, and then the Church of England's King James Bible of 1611. Before that, Wycliffe, Tyndale, and others translated it as shepherd in Ephesians 4:11. In James Strong's KJV concordance and numbering system, G4165 is the verb, poimeino, used 11 times in the New Testament. G4166 is the noun, poimein, used 18 times. Then G4167, poimne, referring to the flock, used 5 times. And then G4168, poimenion, used 5 times, where the eon is just a diminutive suffix, where we would use the English diminutive suffix like let to make flocklet. So poimein is used 18 times, and the other variations another 21 times, but translated pastor only once in English translations. The question is, do we even have a, quote, pastor, unquote, role defined in the New Testament? Well, no and yes. I just quoted the one verse where you find the one instance of the English word, and that verse does not define what it is. But we have other scriptures that refer to mature believers who have oversight and shepherding responsibilities, such as 1 Peter 5:1-2, Acts 20:28, and Titus 1:5-7, using 3 somewhat interchangeable words, of which shepherd is one of them. Another word for them is overseers, using the word episkope, where epi is the Greek preposition or prefix for upon, and skope means look. So that is very straightforward. Although there we have the religious word bishop substituted for that common word in the more archaic translations. Then there is presbytes, an elder, literally by age or figuratively by seniority or class status. These 3 terms are intertwined in the New Testament and applied to the one and the same leadership role, such that Christian leaders should be elders, at least spiritually in terms of maturity, who have oversight and shepherd the flock of Christian believers. Even in Ephesians 4:11, if you take a close look at the grammar, the word shepherd is connected to the word teacher, unlike the other items. So now you don't have, as some are fond of saying, a, quote, 5-fold ministry, unquote, anymore, because the list is reduced to 4 categories. And we can conclude that the shepherd is also a teacher, which is one of the things all modern-day pastors routinely do anyway. So, using all 4 words, now the teaching shepherd is an elder who has oversight over the people under him. Pretty straightforward. Notice in Ephesians 4:11 the lack of any language using the words office, something fold, or even, quote, some to be, unquote. The word some would be tenes, and the verb to be would be aenai. Tenes aenai. It's not in there. And there is no, quote, office, unquote. mentioned here, or anywhere else for that matter, nor does there need to be, as leadership roles are just common sense that even applies in the natural world of employment, government, and other man-made institutions, that you have leaders who lead those under them. Of course, as Christians, we are free to do anything and make any labels we want, so I'm not saying that all of the church pastors have to quit or stop using the title that they are fond of. We just need to recognize that it's a traditional religious label, and that the traditional institutional role of today, which is patterned after Roman Catholicism, which had its origins in Rome in the 4th century, is not so clearly defined in Scripture. There are no pastors in the Bible, as pastor is defined today. Although, again, there are leaders who are expected to be mature believers who have oversight and shepherd and instruct those under them. I wrote an article some time ago documenting all these lists of things in the Scriptures, none of which are meant to be itemized lists or prescriptions, but only examples to illustrate the general point being made in context. I also wrote an article documenting all the religious words that shouldn't be religious as well, so refer to those for more information.